Nau mai anō, nau mai te piki welcome ki a koe e te rangatira. Kai a koe.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou. And I think we'll make it also, we could take some questions from the whare as well, so we can just make it a family thing. Some of you might want to know about direct. Michelle, again, welcome, no mai, darling, from coming all the way over here. And again, just remind us, 6 o'clock, her first feature film that she's directed is going to be screening tonight. 6 o'clock, Angelique's Isle. Fascinating story about people being left in minus 30 degree temperature, so survival story as well. And congratulations on directing your very first feature. Wonderful short films there too, weren't they? Wonderful. Sima, tēnā koe, talofa, Peter Burgett. Let me shake your hand, brother. Gee. I normally get a script to read, so I'm actually a little bit nervous. Because Jake the Master's Jake the Facilitator now. Hey, are you fellas staying or leaving or making a racket while we're trying to talk here? Hey, what about our kaumātua here? I want to say something. He said something beautiful this morning, and it's about performance. He spoke about a haka from the East Coast. He spoke about lightning and thunder. Shouldn't the actors be bringing a little bit of thunder and lightning, Pete? How about kicking something off? Is it in the audition situation? Let's close the door so we can get into it. Kia ora e kora. Hi, how do I come closer so we can just make it more intimate?
That's true, it is a little cold. Fair enough.
Pete, I saw your wonderful resolve, was it? Working with the TV. And again, people like Cliff Curtis, Tim Werder Morrison weren't available. So, a lot of having to work with a lot of inexperienced actors and still wonderful performances, wonderful rawness to that resolve, wonderful quality, and the performances were great.
Thank you very much. Led by Pana Hema Taylor, who's a very, very powerful actor, and then the taumaha subject. The Resolve was a film about some hara that went on in the Taranaki region between Black Power and mongrel mob. It was a frightening subject to go into. It is, those are some very, very real people. They really exist. They're still around today, and
it looked like a lot of those boys they were the real deal, and it brought a sense of scariness. Some of those scenes were very frightening, and I could feel them. It came through the imagery and how you achieved that.
That's right, and yet there's always comedy in life as well. We had one of our fellas, Vinnie Bennett, had his. When those people are real committed to their, it's like their iwi really, their whānau, the Black Power or mongrel mob. Sometimes they put their moko on their face, and Vinnie Bennett had makeup put his Black Power moko. Right here, which is where they were, the most ferocious place you can put your moko. And so he'd been in the makeup department, and then we had to travel him in a van from makeup department to set. So we're sitting there, and they often have those dressing gowns, the really silly dressing gowns over the top. And we didn't put on their big leathers until the very last stage because we were trying to kind of minimize and not draw a lot of attention. So we're sitting in the van, in the back of the van, with this green fuzzy dressing gown and this Black Power moko, poosh, right there. And he's sitting there, and then the van pulls up at the traffic lights, and then another car pulls up at the traffic lights with some fellas with the real Black Power moko on their face. And Vinny's just sitting there, and bro, don't look. And of course, he's like, what? And the guys in the car like look across and they check him out and they see the thing, and Vinny, to his credit, he looks across and just goes, and the guys are like, Oh, I recognize you. And then the lights turn green, and the cars drive off, and Vinny said, oh my God, oh my God. So yeah, it was taumaha, and we all felt it, and if it came through in the performances, then awesome.
Did you have time to work with your actors, but, or were you more or less out there with the camera? Here we go. This is what I want you to do.
I find in rehearsals, a lot of it is just kōrero. If an actor has some experience and of course a lot of just talent's a weird word, but they've got it, then I don't need to teach them how to act, unless they're new or they're children or something. So a lot of what I do in rehearsals is just talking about the world and the character and the story that we are charting, and meeting that actor, if you know what I mean, being as real as I can be and encouraging them to be as real as they can be, and getting a shared understanding of the world. And those are the sort of, that's the time that I try to spend with them, rather than occasionally it's like, hey, let's get up and run this scene sometimes. But the most valuable thing, I think, is building a really true way to communicate to each other. And then once we're on set and it's, booms and light and pressure and stress and call sheets, then, and I'm going, oh, you have 3 of those and 11 of those and hang that higher and do that, blah, blah, blah. Then they can go, hey, bro, and I go, oh, yep, I'm here. And that's what we try to build before we come on, so that when we are on set and all that silliness, we can go and be straight back into that quite real space. Sometimes you call it intimate or personal, but I like to use the word real because it's like, no bullshit, push the bullshit aside and be here.
Sima, want to add to that? I know I've seen you being very spooky in some of your performances recently in The Thousand Ropes. There's a witch-like person in the corner, and I'm sort of, that was scary stuff.
Oh yeah, but you're pretty scary too, mate. You're pretty scary too. So yeah, I'm a Toi Whakaari graduate from way back, but these days I'm more of a filmmaker.
Does that help?
It does, I think. I think especially the empathy
school.
and the connection you require with actors. I do want to say first, kia ora koutou katoa, also shalom, extremely sad, day. But I also, what reminds me is that as directors, that sometimes telling stories is not about us. There was a story called Coffee and Allah that came to me, a script called Coffee and Allah about a Muslim character. And that sometimes it's not about us that we're making the story. Sometimes that we're a voice, we're merely a vehicle. We're merely a vehicle for someone, for other people's stories to be heard. And seeing this Muslim story, knowing the environment. And this was made probably about, 10, 15 years ago. But, even at that time, you just knew, being a minority. So it wasn't about me, and that sometimes we put our name to projects because what we do, and this area we're in, we're so lucky. We have the opportunity to be heard, to put voices out there that other people can't do sometimes, just to ensure that other stories are heard, including, so there was an Indian Pākehā story that I also told. It was not my story, it was someone else's story. Again, a project that would not have been made, I was told, without putting my name to it. So sometimes us filmmakers actually do things not because it's us, because stories need to be heard, characters need to be seen. So I'm extremely proud with that Muslim story, because when it showed in the biggest Muslim festival in Russia, in Moscow, they were surprised too, because it was a story they'd never seen, And it wasn't about terrorism or anything. It was just about a Muslim immigrant living in Aotearoa. And the friendships, the potential for friendships to form. And so, you know, just all the events yesterday just brought all that back. So love to everyone today, and blah, blah, blah. I'm such a sot.
Working? Oh, yeah, that's working. Okay, here we go. There's Michelle, you with Angelique Isle as your very, very first feature film. Did you have experienced Do you have experienced actors and inexperienced actors in this film of yours?
Yes. My lead characters were all very experienced, which was pretty terrifying for me.
Was it? Because I remember working on the piano with Jane Campion, and my job was just to tell the Māoris to carry the piano up the hill. Okay, boys, carry that piano up the hill. This time with feeling. And so I was feeling a little bit guilty, and I was very nervous. And I remember Jane Campion saying, "You're bloody nervous. Try directing Harvey Keitel and Holly Hunter." And she said, I said, well, how are you gonna? What are you gonna do? She said, I just love them. I just love my actors. So you said you were terrified going into it.
Yes, one of my lead actors is Tantu Cardinal. I don't know if yes, yeah. So, I mean, she's been around. She's one of our sort of trailblazers in Canada, right? She's from Edmonton, and she's Cree. But anyway, yeah, no, I remember that day, and I didn't really know if I was going to actually be able to do it. Because she's been 46 years, right? So, and as an actor. And I had but, there's a connection, though, instantly as well, and because we come from the same place, and we have a mutual understanding, and that love, between just like family, and that was, and she, we know our history, and we know what we're doing and why we're doing it. A lot of what you're actually talking about too, right? As storytellers, and that responsibility, and why we do the things that we do, and where that comes from.
Did you find your sometimes inexperienced there, sometimes you've got a crew that know what they're doing? Were there times where you really had to sort of, hang on a minute, this is my story, in terms of, making sure you were getting the right things, especially from the crew side of things, the people like that supporting you?
Yes.
I'm just saying, were there moments where you're just, hang on, we're drifting away from my kaupapa here, my film here, so like keeping control.
Yes, I mean, because I also wrote the story as well, and the story was based on a true story of a young Anishinaabe Kwe, an indigenous woman from my territory from the 1800s. So with that, I had a very big responsibility to making sure the integrity of her story was always kept, and that didn't go, and people didn't take it to other places, and all the while trying to also direct and do a bunch of other things was very, and a lot of the keys and a lot of the crew were non-Indigenous people as well, because that's kind of a bit of a reality that I don't know if you're the same here. So that constant reminding that this is a sacred story, this is because it's about a real spirit, a real woman. So, for my belief is that's still very much alive, because that's our spirit world, right, our ancestor. So we have to acknowledge that, and I had to keep bringing sort of sometimes people back to that.
Any questions from out here? Anything? Put your hand up, just yell it out. While we're hot.
Can I ask you a question, Tim? I'd love to ask Tim. No, I'm like, excuse me. I'd love to ask you a question. No, in terms of, because I think you will be really helpful, because it does actually, directors, know-it-alls, but actually, I think what's really great for those wanting to direct is knowing where actors are coming from. So, and I think that's probably the best way to learn, I think, is really hearing, what do you think us directors could do better?
Well, we're nervous, even though we don't look like it, but we're very nervous. And we lose our confidence like this. I remember starting the work on Mahana being this, and I'm like, I'm the grandfather, and I'm looking, and there's all these young Māori actors coming up now, which I never saw before. And even Lee Tamahori noticed that there was a little bit more in our pool to choose from now, and we've got Māori crew now, and we can say kokiri and tukua instead of action, and I'm going, cha! These things are neat to me, because I was the only one around once upon a time. Yes. And then back in the day when the directors has to sit by the camera, there wasn't no monitors. The director's right here next to the cameraman, looking at the cameraman. Did you get it? Did you get it? I like the director to chase the performance. I came up with that on my recent short film with my hunting boys, Aotearoa. They wanted to get into drama because they've been used to making hunting programs and catching pigs and deer and going out with hunters. And now they're getting into drama. So my phrase was chase the performance. Do what it takes to get the performance, get the close-up, and then worry about everything else later. Go when the actor's in the mood. Sometimes I'm going, hang on, I'm not ready. It might be an emotional scene. Okay, we've had a rehearsal. We've got the lighting right. And my emotions are like the sun. It goes in the cloud. And then it comes out of the cloud. And it comes out of the cloud generally when no one's ready. And then, okay, let's go again. The sun went into the cloud. I'll go again. Get the microphone out of shot. Okay, we'll go again. And I'm sort of going, oh, Jesus. Because this is what we see at the end of the day. And so sometimes I like to go, well, hang on, just give me a minute. And sometimes it doesn't work because you put more pressure on yourself. And then I'm going, what the hell did I ask for a minute for? Because now everyone's waiting for something. And now I'm praying to God to send me some emotion right now. And it happened on Aquaman. I was playing Aquaman, and I had to say goodbye to my yellowfin tuna missus, played by Nicole Kidman. She was leaving me. And I'm holding the baby, and the baby's not playing up. The baby's done with this movie. He doesn't want to be here anymore. So I'm going to hold the baby. Okay, come, one more take. And I'm trying to conjure up some emotion when the director goes, action. Hopefully it's going to come out. But sometimes it doesn't. So we do this terrible acting stuff.
And you do 40 takes later. 40 takes later.
I'm squeezing everything that I've got, trying to squeeze a tear out. Oh, we've got to go again. Thank Christ for that. Let me try another one. Okay.
I think that's fantastic to hear. I think that's
relation.
what directors need to hear. It's actually what actors go through, and I think it is about that empathy and understanding where they're at. Because that's basically our first and foremost. That's our
it's getting them confidence,
top priority.
It's even just sort of because I tried directing my short film in Tahiti, and I remember going, I got the camera.
I think I saw it,
and I had two actors, and action. And I even relished just saying the word for the first time. I've heard so many times, and here I was saying action. And then my actors were going for it, and then cut. And I said, did you get that? Did you get that? I forgot to turn the camera on. Idiot! I didn't have a very good crew, but they forgot to turn the... So we have to go again. And then action again, and I'm sort of going... I did not know what to say. I didn't know, I was sort of going, well, I think I'll just go again. Let's go again. I think I was waiting for my actors to do something. And then I suddenly realized, well, after a few takes, nothing much was going to happen anymore. And we're kind of, okay, let's move on then.
See, fascinating. I mean, that's the thing, eh? Everyone thinks directing is so easy. Oh, no. Just go again. Oh, just go again. 20 takes later. But actually, you've got to
tell us about this actor-director. It's a weird relationship.
I want to tell a story about, and I usually don't say who this is, but I think it should be okay with me saying it today. So I was working with Bronwyn Today, and we were, it was on a TV show and on Go Girls, and we're on a beach, and she was doing, it was a breakup thing, and someone's leaving me, and she has to pour her heart out and classic and to add to the classicness of the stressful situation, the sun is literally on the horizon, and we've shot all this other stuff in the sun, and so we've got to get this in the sun as well. Otherwise, we're screwed. It's not going to match. And she, take one, and she's doing exactly what you're saying. And then take two. Hang on, no, I can do better than that. So, it's very, very false, and she knows it. And I'm just I don't have anything to say because she knows what is required. So I just came up and I sort of stood, how you going? sort of thing. So this is not a story about good directing because I didn't say anything. She just said, "Can I have a minute?" Just like you said, and I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I'm not thinking like the sun is literally on the horizon, but sure, absolutely, take a minute. And she went away, and she took her moment, and then she did the thing when you've got a really good first AD as well. The first AD is really in tune, and we're both trying not to watch the actor while they're having their moment. And eventually, she turned back around and she gave me the tiniest of nods and the first AD. So I go, "Here we go, turn over." And in that tone, not "and here we go," and she would go, and the camera. Everyone knows we're being as gentle as we can be, but it's up to Bronwyn to do her thing. And then she did the most beautiful, heart-rending. Oh my goodness, I'm actually. Yes. Nice. Yes. She did the most beautiful work for this, for this kind of it goes out every week sort of TV show. And afterwards, and cut, and the sun went, bloop, and that was it. We're done. We're all packing up the gear and carrying it back up the beach. And I asked her afterwards, because of course, when someone really does go to that place, then you need to help them come back, or at least see what they want. So look after them a little bit, and so we were walking back up the beach together, and I said, "What was it that was different between take one, take two, wasn't really happening for you, take three, you really did it?" And she said, excuse me, and she said that she realized that she was stopping herself, because going to that really vulnerable place and exposing that place, there's only one way to go there, which is to go there, right? And there's no faking that. And it's painful, and so there was part of herself going, come on, and another part of herself going, I just don't want to. And so she acknowledged that there was part of herself going, no way am I going to that place. And when she acknowledged that, then she said, "That's okay, you can relax, we can go there." And so she had this conversation inside herself, and she allowed it to happen, and then it all came out. So I've kind of always, I don't know if I don't say those specific words to actors, but understanding that pushing is not the answer. Allowing is more the kind of being safe enough and letting them go to those places. And so I use that kind of language. For them to let themselves do that.
I was just thinking that goes to what you were saying earlier about like that relationship and having that relationship before. And developing that trust, right? And that feeling safe that you're able to allow people to go into those spaces, because it is a really vulnerable. I mean, with my film too. I mean, she had to go to those places where, like, it just blows you away that actors can actually go to those places.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
They have to be
and
safe.
I think too, part of it is the trust too. Like, they actually need to know we're holding their hands while they go to that place, even if not physically, but they know we're about to jump off, that we are prepared to jump off the cliff with them, that they're not by themselves. So it's so quite often talking to actors, wherever level they're at, even if they're seated or on the ground, I never stand above them. I'm with them, so I have to get to their level. Whatever level they're at, so it's a body language. It's also an indication that they can see that I am physically with them and also spiritually. So even the tone of voice, your tone of voice in talking to them also changes. So I don't know.
I remember watching Lee Tamahori direct Renner in Once We're Warriors, And the scene was when everything had happened. Our daughter had, hung herself on the tree, and then I think she was at the hospital with her mate. And it was just a moment outside the hospital. And Rena couldn't cry. Ooh, and she'll let you know too. And she'll let you know if your acting's not happening as well. She was powerful to work with. And it was a matter of all of us digging deep to match her emotional depth. Her well that she could draw on was very deep. And man, she'd let you know if you weren't there for her. In terms of giving and feeding as the actors do. But I remember Lee telling her he said, don't cry, please. Rena, just try one for me. And the more he kept saying, don't cry, the more she cried. It was just a funny thing that he was saying, I don't want that. Look, we've already got that. I don't want anything. And then it was about 10 takes later, so she'd just done one with no tears and just sort of. And that's the one that made the cut in the movie. And that's the one that allows you as an audience to cry because he's not crying. It was just a funny little thing, and I remember being there on set watching Lee. With me, it was a different story because he really had to shake me up a little bit. I just remember him going, okay, stand by. Vicious, action! That's you. I remember Larry Parr going, Tim, if you can pull this one off, I'm going to eat my hat. I almost got the rights to this movie. Dr. Ropat is not going to pull this one off. Then I ran into Larry Parr at the Cannes Film Festival in France, and he had a hat on. And he pulled his hat off and started eating it. No, I don't know, but I'm just saying, whew. And getting that on action, getting those performances, especially from the kids. The girl who played Grace had come into the audition with her mate, and she was outside playing table tennis. And Don Sowan had just finished auditioning her friend and then saw Anita Mamangaro playing table tennis. Hey, come in tomorrow. So, and I don't know how her mate felt about it because, and she got the part. But again, good casting. You don't want to be in a position where you're directing your movie and watching your lead actors not cutting it. Michelle. Tēnā koe. He pata. Tēnā koe. Joe.
The effect of the director. I was in 6 of Don's films, and I used to stand there and I say, I wish you'd tell me what to do. I wish you'd tell me how to think. I wish you'd tell me how to feel. Because the bugger said nothing. He just said, get on and do it. And that's what we did, Timwer. No, he never told us what to do. We just, I don't know, somehow it happened.
Well, whatever we're doing, it's working, Joe.
But I think one of the things, he picked us out of the blue. I just get a phone call and say, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. It's all right, we're doing a film. And you got this part. Oh, okay. Send me this. He sent me the script. I read it. I cut it up. And he said, your turn. That's it. Nothing.
I remember, Joe, I did a rehearsal for Once We're Warriors, and Don was running, because he was casting as well, and then he got involved with the rehearsals. And I wasn't cutting it. I wasn't cutting it. And I remember Don saying this to me. They got the wrong man. They've got the wrong guy. Come back tomorrow. And to hear that, I had to go home and have a good talk to myself and come back with something to give to Don at this rehearsal. Rena was fine. She was Beth Heke, no problem. But this Dr. Ropata, who they decided to bring in as Jake the Muss, was causing them all sorts of grief. So yeah, and it was one of those challenges, like from people like Don, and knowing even we heard Merata Mita's name today, and I'm a protege of all those people that, and we as the Māori in the industry today, we're touched by certain ones, and Don and Merata especially for me. Don, especially for all my performances, I'd go in and see Don. I don't know about this movie, Don, don't know about the script. Do it. Oh, okay. That was it. He was all about getting more Māori behind the scenes, getting more Māori into sound, into working the cameras. And we saw that with the success of our TV show, Mataku. There was a lot of us on working on that. You know, and I'm just, you know, for the actors today, I have people come up to me, oh, you know, what's your advice? I said, well, geez, our industry, we're all on Ponsonby Road drinking coffee at the moment because there's nothing happening. But it's about us here today. It's about us inspiring one another. It's about us getting off our nonos and doing it ourselves. Michelle, I want to thank you very much for coming all the way here. Again, let's look forward to her film at 6 o'clock this evening. Seema, thank you very much. Again, Mr. Berger, hope to work with you soon. Love your work. Love your work. Love your work. Thank you very much. We're going to keep the program moving. Again, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. Hara mai nei, raro hoki te mana o ngā aho, Whakaari. Tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora.